In the life of every believer, there comes a time when the heart is in a state of waiting. Waiting for a sign, waiting for an answer, waiting for a change. Perhaps you too have prayed. You have asked Allah persistently, and you wonder, when will confirmation come? When will this person I am waiting for finally make a decision, finally take that step towards me? It is important to remember that every moment of waiting is not empty. This time is filled with divine wisdom. Allah says in the Quran, "You may hate something, but it is good for you, and you may love something, but it is bad for you. Allah knows, but you do not know." Surah Al-Baqarah 216. This verse teaches us absolute trust. Even if we think we know what is good for us, it is Allah who holds perfect knowledge. He is the one who knows the exact moment when a prayer should be answered and how it should be manifested. In this introduction, I want you to rest your heart, breathe deeply, and remember, Allah never forgets His servants. Every tear, every supplication made in the secrecy of the night, every word whispered in prostration has been heard. The Prophet said, "Supplication is the weapon of the believer, the pillar of religion and the light of the heavens and the earth." Hadith reported by Al-Hakim. This means that your waiting is not silent. Even if outwardly nothing is happening, spiritually, many things are already being accomplished. So before we talk about this confirmation that Allah grants you, before we talk about the moment when this person will finally take action, let's take a moment to understand. Patience is not an empty test. It is a preparation. Allah also says, "O you who believe, seek help in patience and prayer. Indeed, Allah is with those who steadfastly wait." Surah Al-Baqarah 153. This reminder is powerful. In your wait, you are not alone. You are not abandoned. On the contrary, Allah is with you, closer to you than you can imagine. This divine closeness is the first confirmation. If your heart continues to hope, if you find the strength to pray and be patient, it is already a sign that Allah is working for you, opening doors, preparing the perfect moment. So calm your soul, put yourself in a spiritual state where you understand that Allah's time is never late and never early. It is always perfect. And when Allah has decreed that your waiting will end, nothing and no one can prevent it. 1. Allah's signs in our lives. Many believers ask themselves the same question. How do I know if Allah has heard my prayer? How do I recognize divine confirmation in my life? The answer is not always visible through spectacular miracles. Often, it lies in subtle signs. Events that seem ordinary but, taken together, reveal perfect divine orchestration. Allah, in His mercy, sends reminders and signals to His servants. The Quran says, "We will show them our signs in the horizon and within themselves, until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth." Surah Fussilat 41:53. These signs manifest themselves in many ways. Sometimes you have a vivid dream that soothes your heart and confirms that an answer is approaching. Sometimes you meet someone who says exactly the words you needed, without knowing that you were carrying that question within you. Still other times, you feel a strong intuition, an inner conviction that calms your doubts. Many call these coincidences, but for the believer, there is no such thing as chance. Every synchronicity is proof that everything is written and guided by the hand of Allah. The Prophet said, "Know that what has befallen you could not miss you, and what has been missed could not befall you. And know that victory accompanies patience, deliverance accompanies trial, and ease accompanies difficulty." Hadith reported by At-Tirmidhi. This hadith illustrates the fundamental concept of qadar, divine decree. Nothing happens without its being written. Even your waiting, even this silence from the person you're hoping for, is part of a larger plan. And every detail, every encounter, every word heard, every dream or sign, is like a compass that shows you that you are on the path marked out by Allah. Perhaps you've already experienced that strange moment when your heart starts beating faster, when you think of someone just before receiving a sign related to that person. Perhaps you've seen the same name, the same symbol, the same date repeatedly, to the point where you feel that Allah is speaking to you through these repetitions. These are not illusions. They are signs that strengthen your faith, confirming that something is afoot. But be careful. It is essential to welcome these signs with balance. Allah invites us to observe and reflect, but also to maintain faith without falling into impatience or obsession. Signs are not there to create anxiety, but to bring serenity. They are Allah's way of saying to you, I have heard you. Go forward with confidence. So whenever you perceive a sign, a recurring dream, a persistent intuition, or a coincidence that touches your heart, remember that it is no accident. It is Allah who confirms through the details of your life that your prayer is heard and that the time will come. The believer does not seek signs as obligatory proof, but welcomes them as a gift. For the greatest sign is already in the heart, that faith that continues to believe despite silence, that hope that refuses to be extinguished, that inner feeling that something beautiful is underway. 2. The role of patience and prayer. While waiting for a sign, a response, or the return of a person, the believer faces the most delicate test, patience, sabr. Patience is not simply waiting, it is a state of the heart, a discipline of the soul. It consists of remaining steadfast and confident, even when nothing seems to be happening. Allah has repeatedly emphasized the importance of sabr in the Quran. One of the most powerful reminders is this verse, and we shall surely test you with a little fear and hunger and loss of wealth, lives and fruits, and give good news to the patient. Surah Al-Baqarah, 2 Yunus 155. Here, Allah promises good news to those who are patient. This means that behind every silence, every delay, every painful wait, there is a message of relief and a response. Patience is therefore not a waste of time. It is a seed planted in faith, and which will eventually bear fruit at the time determined by Allah. Prayer as refuge. But for patience to be bearable, it must be accompanied by prayer. Prayer, salat, but also dua, is the believer's breath, the direct connection with Allah. The Prophet said, prayer is the light of the believer, reported by Muslim. Waiting for someone who is slow to show up, it is easy to sink into anxiety, sadness, or anger. But one who nourishes their heart with prayer finds inner stability. For each prostration reminds us that history is not in our hands, but in the hands of Allah. Patience without prayer becomes burdensome, almost unbearable. But patience nourished by prayer transforms into strength. It's like a fragile boat that floats peacefully, because it's carried by deep, calm water. This water is faith. Active waiting versus passive waiting. It's also important to understand that patience doesn't mean inaction. Many people think that patience means remaining motionless, frozen, waiting for a miracle. But in Islam, patience is always accompanied by active waiting. Passive waiting, it's sitting, complaining, watching time pass, hoping that the situation will change on its own. This is an attitude that tires the soul and distances one from true sabr. Active waiting. It's being patient while continuing to pray, improve oneself, purify one's intention, and prepare one's heart. This means that while you wait for that person to take a step, you are taking steps toward Allah. You become closer to Him. You strengthen your faith. You work on your character and your heart to be ready to welcome the blessing when it comes. It is this active waiting that transforms the trial into a blessing. For through it, you grow, you mature, you become stronger. And often, it is this inner work that precedes Allah's response. For sometimes, Allah is quick to respond to test whether you are only waiting for the gift, or if you are also waiting for the giver. Remain firm in faith. During this waiting, the greatest challenge is not to let doubt invade your heart. Shaitan whispers thoughts like, Allah does not hear you, your prayer is in vain, nothing will change. But these are only illusions. For Allah promises in the Quran, call upon me and I will answer you. Surah Ghafir 40:60. Even if the silence lasts, even if the person delays, continue to believe. For your patience combined with your prayer becomes a light that illuminates your path and a protection against despair. 3. The person and their obstacles before contact. If you've been waiting for someone for a long time, it's essential to understand a profound truth. It's not just you who is being tested by the wait. The other person, the one you hope will finally make a decision, is also going through their own inner storms. Many delays are not due to indifference or contempt, but to blockages of the heart and mind. These blockages take many forms, and each one is part of Allah's plan. Inner fears. Often, what delays a person is fear. Fear of commitment, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. Perhaps this person deeply feels the importance of the connection with you, but this intensity itself paralyzes them. Sometimes the soul knows what it must do, but the ego trembles before the responsibilities. In this case, Allah allows the necessary time for fear to subside and courage to mature. Hesitation and doubt. Another common obstacle is doubt. This person may love, want to act, but still be uncertain. Is this really the right choice? Is this the right time? These hesitations are not always a bad thing. They are sometimes a protection. For if the person came too soon, without inner clarity, the relationship would risk collapsing. Thus, delay is not a punishment, but a mercy. Allah waits for doubt to turn into certainty before opening the door. Social and family constraints. There are also external obstacles: family, society, personal responsibilities. Perhaps the person fears judgment, criticism, or must first resolve a complicated situation before they can freely move toward you. These visible obstacles are part of God's decree. They are not there to break the story, but to prepare for it. For once overcome, they strengthen the bond and allow the person to come to you with renewed strength, and ego. Sometimes, what delays action is simply pride. The person knows they must return, they must make contact, but their ego says, what if you seem weak? What if you are rejected? This pride may seem unfair, but even it serves a purpose. For Allah teaches humility through trials. He gently breaks down the walls of the ego until the person understands that love, reconciliation, or commitment require courage, not pride. Everything is part of Allah's plan. It is important for you to know that these blockages are not an obstacle to the divine plan. On the contrary, they are part of it. Allah is the guider of hearts. If He has decreed that this person will return to you, no delay, no fear, no constraint can change His decree. Sometimes, the wait exists precisely for these blockages to dissolve. Allah doesn't just want the person to come to you, He wants them to come at the right time, with a purified heart, with sincere intentions. Without these blockages, the encounter might have happened too soon and turned into pain. But thanks to this time, thanks to this imposed patience, the person matures and prepares. So instead of seeing these blockages as enemies, consider them as stages. They are doors that the person must pass through so that when they finally arrive, they arrive ready, whole, and aligned with Allah's decree. 4. Confirmation from Allah. They will contact you. There comes a particular moment in the life of a believer when waiting takes on a different color. It is no longer simply hope. It is no longer just a repeated prayer. It is an inner certainty. You feel deep within your soul that Allah has heard you, and that the time for an answer is approaching. This certainty does not come from you. It is a divine gift. It is confirmation from Allah. The annunciatory signs. Allah does not leave His servants without guidance. When the time is near, He sends signs to prepare your heart. These signs may seem subtle to those who do not believe, but to those who pray and observe, they are striking. Dreams. How many believers have seen in a dream the person they are waiting for? Not in a confusing scenario, but in a clear, soothing, and foreboding image. A dream isn't always absolute proof, but it is sometimes a sweet confirmation that Allah is slipping into the believer's heart. Providential encounters. You run into a mutual friend by chance, someone mentions that person in conversation, or you stumble upon a memory that suddenly resurfaces. These coincidences are never trivial. They are invisible threads that Allah weaves to show that the time is near, deep intuitions. Sometimes your heart begins to beat faster, your soul calms, and you know, without being able to explain it, that something is afoot. It's like a gentle breeze passing by, and you understand that Allah is breathing serenity into your soul. Synchronicities. You see the same first name, the same date, the same symbols reappear several times in a short period of time. These are not mere coincidences. They are confirmations that the page is being written. Allah says, "It is He who sends tranquility to the hearts of the believers, that they may have faith in their faith." Surah Al-Fatr 48. This tranquility, this inner calm, is one of the greatest signs, the spiritual certainty that contact is coming. When Allah decides that the time is right, He changes hearts. You may not see anything on the outside, but on the inside, something changes. Your worry dissipates. Your heart begins to rest in trust. This is proof that the answer is already coming. Allah said, "And when my servants ask you concerning me, then I'm near. I answer the call of the one who calls upon me when he calls upon me." Surah Al-Baqarah 2:86. This verse is not a vague promise, it's an absolute truth. When you have prayed sincerely, when you have been patient, Allah has heard. And when He places in your heart this quiet certainty that it will happen, it is a direct confirmation from Him. Many believers testify to this particular moment. They stopped doubting, not because they had received a concrete message, but because they felt an unusual peace. It was as if Allah was saying to them inwardly, "Do not fear. It is already decided." Examples and metaphors to help you understand. Imagine a gardener who has sown a seed. For weeks, he sees nothing. The earth seems barren. But beneath the surface, the seed works, takes root, and prepares itself. Then one morning, a small shoot appears. It is not yet a tree, but it is confirmation that life is there. In the same way, the signs you receive are the first signs. Contact is already in the making, even if you don't yet see it in broad daylight. Another example. When you're waiting for a train, you don't always see the locomotive from afar, but you hear the tracks vibrate, you feel the approaching breeze, you see the lights in the distance. These clues are enough to tell you that the train is coming. Such are the signs of Allah. Vibrations, clues, lights that tell you that the person is going to contact you. Why this confirmation is precious. This confirmation is not given to everyone. It is an honor, a sign of closeness to Allah. It is there to strengthen your faith, so that you don't give up at the last stage. Because often, just before the answer manifests in the material world, the believer goes through a phase where they could become discouraged. Allah, in His mercy, then sends this spiritual certainty so that you can hold firm. So if your heart feels today that the time is approaching, if you see these signs, if you feel this inner peace, understand that it is not your imagination. It is Allah who confirms to you, patience a little longer. The answer is coming. 5. They finally take action. After months, perhaps years, of hesitation, silence, and blockages, there comes a moment when the person you're waiting for finally finds the strength to act. This moment is never random. It's born not solely from their will, but from the will of Allah, who breathes courage into their hearts. The heart is freed from its chains. All the fears that held them back, the fear of failure, doubts, peer pressure, or even their own pride, begin to crumble. It's not that they suddenly become invincible, but that Allah places a light in their chests that transcends their fear. The Prophet said, "When Allah wishes good for His servant, He opens his heart to Islam," reported by Muslim. Similarly, when Allah wants a step taken towards you, He opens that person's heart, frees them from their blockages, and suddenly, what seemed impossible becomes possible. Courage, instilled by Allah. Never forget, action does not come solely from humans. It is Allah who grants the strength to move, to speak, to send that message, to bridge that distance. Without His help, no one has the ability to cross that threshold. The Quran says, "And you will only as much as Allah wills." Indeed, Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. Surah Al-Insan 76:30. So when the person decides to contact you, to introduce themselves, to take that risk, it is not just their will. It is Allah's decree being fulfilled through them, the decisive moment. Imagine this scene. After so much time, their hand trembles as they write a message. Their breath hesitates before a call, and their step grows heavier before coming to you. And yet, they do it. For Allah has given them that spark of courage that no human strength could have elicited. This moment is sacred, for it is the junction between your sabr and their decision, between your invocation and their action. Hope becomes reality. When you finally see this concrete sign, a call, a message, a clear gesture, your heart understands. This is the moment I have been waiting for, and it has arrived exactly when Allah willed it. At that moment, gratitude fills your soul. You realize that all those nights of prayer, all those tears, all those supplications have never been in vain. Every second of patience has brought you this far. This transition from expectation to realization is a shining example that Allah's timing is perfect. Not too soon, not too late. Exactly when your heart and the persons were ready. Transition to hope realized. But remember, it's not just the contact that is a blessing. It's also the journey you've taken. If Allah allowed this person to finally take action, it's because He wanted you to go through this wait to strengthen your faith, and for the person, in turn, to go through their own trials to become worthy of this step. So don't just see the message received, the call heard, or the encounter as a personal victory. See them as a spiritual victory, that of patience, prayers, and trust in Allah. And 6. How to welcome this moment. When the long-awaited moment finally arrives, it's easy to get carried away by emotion. After so much waiting, prayers and signs, seeing the person take the step can provoke a wave of joy, but also a mixture of fear, haste, or even pride. This is where the believer must demonstrate spiritual maturity. Welcome this moment with gratitude, humility, and balance. Gratitude. Above all, the heart's first reaction must be gratitude to Allah. For it is not the person themselves who decided to move. It is Allah who opened the door, who softened their heart, who made this encounter happen. The Prophet said, "He who does not thank people has not thanked Allah," reported by At-Tirmidhi. So thank Allah first through prayer and words of praise. Then, welcome the person with kindness, for they have had to overcome their own challenge to reach you. Don't act hastily. The danger at this stage is letting yourself be dominated by accumulated impatience. You want everything immediately, explanations, promises, complete reparation. Yet, Islam teaches us gentleness and moderation. Remember that if Allah took time to bring this person to you, it's not so that you spoil the moment by demanding everything too quickly. Let things rebuild wisely, one step at a time. Avoid pride. Another trap is pride. You might think, finally, I was right. I won. But the blessing didn't come to fuel the ego. It came to elevate you spiritually. Pride destroys what patience has built. If Allah has honored you by answering your prayer, be humble. Tell yourself, it is not I who have gained, it is Allah who has given. Welcome with balance and prayer. The best way to welcome this moment is to keep your heart centered on Allah. Continue to pray, continue to invoke His guidance, for this contact is not the end, but a new beginning. Ask Allah to protect this connection, purify your intentions, and maintain the blessing over time. For true success is not just that the person contacts you. True success is that this contact becomes an opening to a healthy, blessed, and lasting relationship by the grace of Allah. Throughout this journey, you have learned that waiting is never a void, but a preparation. May the signs of Allah confirm what your heart foresaw. May patience and prayer transform the trial into light. That the person's obstacles were not an end, but a stage willed by Allah. And that ultimately, when the divine decree is fulfilled, contact occurs at the perfect moment. Remember this truth. Allah always answers. Not always when you hope, not always in the way you imagine, but always in the way that is most appropriate for you. Allah says in the Quran, "You may hate something, but it is good for you. And you may love something, but it is bad for you. Allah knows, but you do not know." Surah Al-Baqarah 2-116. So, if today you have received confirmation that they will contact you, accept it with gratitude and confidence. And if you are still waiting, do not lose heart. Every supplication, every tear, every prostration counts. Nothing is lost with Allah. The best attitude is to continue praying, to remain patient, and to keep your heart connected to your Lord. For even if the person delays, Allah is already with you, and He never disappoints His servants. So go with this certainty. Allah's decree is perfect, His promise is true, and your story is in good hands.